Hey, I hope you had a great break in between. Had a tea time with testers, with your friends, colleagues, made important calls, made yourself free. And I welcome you back to our next awesome session of the day by none other than Anna Royzman. If you don't know Anna, I suggest you should know her for an amazing work she is doing with Masters Academy. Apart from anything else, I have a great respect for Anna for her integrity and the passion for the craft of testing and the efforts she is taking to maintain the value, quality of the conferences and initiatives like those in the commercial industry that we all operate in. Thanks a lot for your all the work you're doing through Masters Academy, Anna, and I feel very proud to be associated with you in some of your engagements. And with that, I will let
Hello,
you start your talk.
do you hear me?
Absolutely, yes.
Hi, thank you very much, Lalit, for great introduction. I'm very happy to be here, and it's a very exciting event. It's 7 a.m. at 7:30 a.m. This is usually not my time, but um, let me talk about who are your stakeholders. And I will start with introducing myself, and then we talk about this topic, which I feel very important for all the testers. I would love Lali to help me out. I will be asking some questions, and if you can read me the answers from people who are joining, then it would be fantastic. Because otherwise,
Definitely.
I don't know who I'm talking to. 215 participants, amazing. Okay, all right, let me start. Who am I? My name is Anna Royzman, and for the last several years, I'm running Masters Academy. Masters Academy is an academy. it's um, it's my project, my company that wants to bring better education to software testing and test leadership professionals. I really care about test leadership. I feel that all the testers at any point of time will start thinking about their careers. If you're entering the testing field, then at some point you start to think, what's next for me? And in order for you to kind of move forward, you will need to know more about the field you're in, your craft, but also about business priorities and your domains and how to work with other people who are influencing your working outcomes. And those people are stakeholders. So in order for us to start this conversation really is to first identify who are your stakeholders. Because you keep on hearing about our stakeholders. It's kind of a buzzword, right? So sometimes people are using this word. Sometimes your managers use this word. Sometimes the company management, company leadership, when they have like big kind of like town halls or whatever it is, the message to all the organization, they say our stakeholders, blah, blah, blah. But what really is the stakeholders? And let's kind of dig into that name deeper. So stakeholder is any person, organization, a social group, society at large that has a stake in the business. And stakeholders can be internal or external to the business. And a stake, what is a stake? A stake is a vital interest in the business or its activities. And if we look at stakeholders from this point of view, somebody who has a stake in what you do. Think about that. Who has an interest in what you do. I know that for us testers, sometimes people say, oh, nobody interested in what I do, how do I prove my value? But in reality, there is a lot of people who are depending on your good work, who are dependent on your results, who are dependent on the outcome of your testing. My first question would be, is to what quality means to your stakeholders. But in order for us to identify those, my first question would be to this community who is listening to me right now. Who are your stakeholders? I'm going to open the chat. Maybe I can see that. Would really to know, the results of our conversation here. But Lalit, can you read some to me? Please put in the chat ideas of what you think your stakeholders are. Who are your stakeholders?
Answers are developers, managers, users, salespeople, business clients, product owners, internal and external.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you. Because you understand, right? It's not just your customers and it's not just your managers, but it's also your teams. It's also the teams you're working with. Your developers are your stakeholders. Your customers are your stakeholders. Your business people are your stakeholders as well. Operations are your stakeholders. People who are managing security. People who are selling your product, sales team. People who marketing team. Financial people, financial group. And business analysts, right? Or product owners are your stakeholders, which kind of gives us a bigger picture of our ecosystem and where we are all working, right? All these people, one way or another, are dependent on the good job that you do. And in order for us to help these people, we are going to find out a little bit more about who they are and what quality means to them. Because in order to satisfy the needs for quality from all of your stakeholders, you will first need to dig deeper into what actually is the quality. And the quality is a value to some person, which is the phrase that we all go by. It's a phrase by Jerry Weinberg. I hope all of you know. If Lalit is managing this this conference, that he probably mentioned it one way or another about Jerry Weinberg. Jerry is a teacher for all of us, an inspiration, and this is the phrase that we mainly are testing as a community go by. So quality is a value to some person. So in order for us to understand what quality means to our stakeholders, we need to dig deeper into what actually this stakeholder values. And in order for us to look at this a little bit closely, I would really like for us to brainstorm together, and I'm gonna throw some ideas, and then Lalit can read back to me what are your answers. Let's brainstorm what quality risk means to each of the stakeholders and what quality means to each of the stakeholders. So let's start with our obvious stakeholder, which is product owner. If anybody in Agile, right? You kind of know the product owner is the person who owns the product, right? What are the quality means to that person? Any idea?
Defect-free product is the first answer.
Okay.
Meeting client expectations, usable products, customer satisfaction.
Okay, so for the product owner, the quality means bug-free, ideally, and meeting client satisfaction, because he is really the representative of the client, Okay. So he has his own ideas of what the client satisfaction means, and his product should be kind of meeting the expectation of this person, because this person thinks or knows how the client would like this product to work. What would the quality risk for this person be? Throw some ideas to me. Whoops. Some of the quality risks for, Some of the quality risk for this person would be when the product is not really satisfying what he feels the acceptance criteria is, right? Another, the bugs. Bugs, something that this product owner who works very closely with the team can look at the bugs and kind of feel, make his own decisions, right? So the quality risk would be a buggy software, which is probably not meeting the quality, the satisfaction of the clients, right? But let's look at somebody else. Let's look at developers, who are your stakeholders as well. What would quality means to developers? Any ideas? Anybody who is developer in our group right now?
One answer is feedback.
Yes. Okay. So for developers, what really quality means is sometimes you'll be surprised. It's not the bug-free software, because everybody knows that the bug's gonna exist, right? So developers have really different meaning of what the quality means. To them, the feedback loop is really important. They want to understand what you're finding, and to them, it's not the amount of bug that you found, but the quality of your work. What kind of bugs do you find? How do you find them? How often do you find them? And how soon can you find them? Is really what quality means. Another thing for them is probably a quality build, clean build, right? This is the reason that we all want to do some automation, some smoke testing on a build, because that really is something for developers to strive to, is providing the clean build, right? And if you think about that, where is your role in that, right? As a tester, where is your role in that? How can you help developer? We all know how to help the product owner, but how do you help developer who is also dependent on your work? Number one is the feedback loop could be faster, which means that you can change your processes, adjust your processes to work really with your developer much closely than you're doing today. Maybe for some of you, it's already kind of a cup of tea, everybody knows how to do it. And for some of you, you maybe don't see your developers because maybe they are in another country. So establishing some of the processes which will be useful and valuable for you and for your developers is something to think about. Now let's talk about your sales team. What would be quality means to the sales team? Any ideas? It's a tricky question. What would quality mean to the sales team?
Best in market, sellable features, user experience, getting more clients, more customer action, the credibility, more money.
Credibility, more money. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay. So if you start thinking about your sales team as your clients, really important features for them are how if the user is attracted to the product, right? So looking at the usability, probably meaning more to the salespeople, and looking through the ways how this product differentiates from other products, is what mattering. It really what matters to your salespeople, right? Because they need to sell. When you need to sell, you have to differentiate your offer, and you have to say it's not a Me Too product. Oh, by the way, we delivered this product. Oh, you can use this, this, and this, but also in the market there is 5 more products just like that. Of course, sales never do that, right? Sales would say, okay, this product is unique in this, and this way, and they need to prove it. So sometimes the features that must work for those people who are selling the product really different from what your product manager thinks. Think about that. They need to deliver something which is a wow, right? They need to sell this experience to the user. So to them, certain things, maybe even design flows, would be really important to your salespeople. And I had I have an interesting story. Is I was working in a financial company, and our salespeople were selling to traders. We had financial application, basically a reporting application. It was only reports, numbers, financial numbers. But our clients were very rich people, traders. Traders are kind of it's elite of say financial world. You know, those people are very picky, and these people are very how to say they really care about certain features more than anybody else. Picky people, you know, rich picky people who are managing money, millions of dollars every day. So our sales team, when they came to us and we were discussing the colors of this application, which is financial reporting application, just report, just numbers. And one of our sales team said, I don't like this red. There was a red, blue, and different palette, right? He said, I don't like this red. And we asked him, so what exactly do you mean? He's like, it's not the red color that I like. And we asked, so what kind of red color do you like? And he said, it has to be Ferrari red. And you would think about, like, it's financial applications, about reporting, it's about numbers. What does it have to do with Ferrari, right? But luxury cars mean a lot to people who are, you know, very rich people. And they want to be associated, when they look at the screen, they want to be associated with this app. They have to feel that it's theirs, right? And in order to feel that it's theirs, they need to identify with this application, and introducing the right colors, which is the color of the red Ferrari, which is kind of an icon of somebody's rich luxury living, is something that was very important to the salesperson when they introduced our software, our program, to his client. And you'll be surprised, but we did change the color. It meant a lot. You know, salespeople could be happy. So, for example, the quality risk to somebody who is a salesperson could vary very much from somebody who is an operation person. Let's talk about operations. People, admins who are client support. People who are on client support. That's a very important question, and I'm going to ask you one more time. What quality risk means to client support people? And you'll be surprised. Any answer?
Good logs, deployability, stable software, upgrades working.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you very much. Exactly. So you, for example, spend several months on developing something, and your developers are working and they put like a lot of feature in, and you put this thing out and new release, and next day, 9 a.m., 300 new calls to the customer support people. I don't understand this feature. How does it work? right? That exactly something that you need to think about, because those are stakeholders who really need to, they are facing the clients as much as even more than the salespeople. And when the salespeople face the clients, they usually bring something nice and shiny to the client. But customer support have to deal with customers' problems. Helping customer support to do their work is actually in our hands as well. Because if you start thinking as a customer support, and for example, there is a bug that there is a workaround, and in your team, between your development, between you and your product owner and business analyst, you decided that this bug is not really a showstopper. It's okay to go out with this bug, which is, it's fine. It's not a big deal. There is a workaround, and you put it in production. And the next day, the customer support is overwhelmed with the calls and the complaints, and the reputation goes down. So in order for you to really understand what the quality and quality risk means to each of your stakeholders and properly represent your stakeholders in the team meetings, that would be something that you need to think about it. In order for us to better understand the stakeholders, first thing you do is to do the brainstorming exercise, which we just did. And I suggest every team, if you go back to your team, do this exercise with them. Number one, identify your stakeholders as a team. It's a great exercise. It's a team building exercise as well. And it talks about the quality criteria, so which is really, really important for your team. So first of all, identify who your stakeholders is. Your list should include at least 10 positions. There's really different types of stakeholders who you normally work with or who care about the software you produce. And then identify what quality means for each of those stakeholders. Eye-opening exercise. Do that with your team. If there's anything that you bring back from my session, this exercise, identify your stakeholders and understand as a team what quality means to each of those stakeholder groups. And then the next step would be to build a relationship with your stakeholders, because really you're working for those people. You really are. You really, their interests are your interests. So you really need to think about how to build better relationship with your stakeholder in order to do a better job. So you start with, you need to understand their priorities. For stakeholders, it's really, the priorities are different. For example, marketing people. I don't know if you know how the marketing works, but there is a lot of work happening before the product is actually being completed. There is marketing press releases, there is a reporters probably being notified. The social media marketing starts maybe months before the product is actually being done, right? And a lot of times, the marketing, they really need to put the dates before the product is being delivered, right? Because the marketing starts beforehand. You need to get it into people's head that, hey, this new product is being released, and hey, it's going to be better than anything. You have to know about the product. You have to announce this product, and you have to put the release date no matter what. Even though in Agile, we try not to plan the releases with the date, but for marketing, that thing doesn't work, because all their schedule is going, they calculate back to a specific release date. If you do not release on that date, what's going to happen? Probably you find the showstopper you cannot release on that date that marketing already announced several months ago, what's going to happen? The reputation suffers, right? So you need to understand when you think about the priorities, you really need to understand every stakeholder priority and how to look at what you do and how to look at your product from different points of view. This the first step into learning how to build a relationship with your stakeholders is to learn their language. They speak in different languages, and you'll be surprised, but the more you talk to different people, you would understand that they all speak different languages. They use different buzzwords, and those buzzwords identify really the priorities of what those people care about. For example, some things, and I mentioned marketing, and for the marketing, there is certain buzzword which is building the brand. Do you know what it means? Some of you probably don't know what this means. So, but your marketing people are using this word a lot, using this phrase a lot, and it has a specific meaning that you may not understand what it is, but they do. When you talk to them about the bugs or features, you have to use these buzzwords for them, because that's how you can explain to them that certain things that you found, you discovered, really matters to them, and you need to explain it to them in their terms. I listed some of these, some of those buzzwords to say that would care for, somebody would care, some stakeholder would care about, and some would totally don't care about. For example, the software is fun to use. Who would care about that? Probably your customers, right? But the software is solving some customer problem. Who would care about that? Would your customers care about that? Probably not. If you bring your application to 10-year-old kids and you say, hey kids, that software is really solving your problems, they will laugh at you. They don't have problems, they have fun, right? They want to play. And it's something that they would never think about. But for your business analyst, solving customer problem is a big deal. And this is how they look at your software, and this is how they look at your product, whether it's solving customer problem or not. And this is how you have to look at your product from the business owner or product owner point of view. But from your customer point of view, you have to look at the product. Is it fun to use or not? Something like clean build, right? Which is what matters really to your developers. Does it matter to your marketing team whether you clean build or not a clean build? They don't know what it is. They may be seeing the UI, they don't even know what's underneath, right? So when you find the issues that certain people care about, certain stakeholders, you need to explain it in their terms so that they could relate to the issues that you found, because you can come to them and say, oh, the application crashes. And they say, so what? And you have to explain to them, well, it's not good for our brand if our application crashes. And they say, oh, that's a big deal. So you have to, this is one of my advices to you, is you have to practice explaining risk and issues in stakeholder terms. In order for you to do that, this takes practice. And I put the word practice on it. I'm not giving you advices, but you need to practice. The better you understand how your stakeholders think and how they speak, the better you will be able to relate to them and explaining the issues. For example, there are certain issues which is really affecting their job, but they may not understand if you just say, hey, this function is not, this, for example, button is not lighting up, or this error message is not displayed. They would not understand what it means, but you need to explain to them in their actual terms what kind of quality risks that bug introduces. And this is a good skill for software testers and quality assurance professional to have. And today I'm hoping that you will change your attitude toward your stakeholders and make your stakeholders your friends. My last parting words to how to really build relationship with your stakeholders and why. I really advise you to become a quality advocate for your stakeholder, because you are representing your stakeholders at the table when you talk with your developers and with your product owner about the bugs. That's number one. If you know how your stakeholders think about quality, you will obviously adjust your testing strategy and scope to mitigate stakeholders' risks. Look beyond the software and beyond the spec. Put yourself in the shoes of people who really depend on the quality of your work. And evaluate your bug priorities from your stakeholder point of view. When you think about the bug priority, don't think about from because I said so, but try to argue why certain bugs matter more or matter less because of your stakeholders. That would be my parting word to you today. I'm losing my voice for some reason. And I would really love to open the floor for questions. I know there are some. Before we do that, before I go to Q&A, I want to reiterate who am I? I'm Anna. And I run great conferences. And this time, my conferences are online this year or hybrid. I invite all of you to join our conferences this year, and you can find the information on testmastersacademy.org. You can connect with me. My Twitter handle is QAnna, and you find me, and Test Masters Academy. So I really am open to connect with all of you. Thank you very much for all who sent me already your request to join my network. And nice to meet you. In this, I'm going to go back to Lalit and to questions.
Sure, Anna. Thank you so much for interesting talk. If you want, you can sip a glass of water for now. If not, then I would.
I'm good.
So, how should we handle the stakeholders who keep changing their requirements? I believe Vikram wants to know. It's like when the customers or stakeholders don't know what they want, how do we help them?
How can you help? If you have the customer at your fingertips, if you can meet the customers, not every one of you can, but if you can, what I would suggest is learn some techniques that UX designers use to understand the customer priorities and to understand the customer needs. You'll be surprised. Designers have a very similar testing techniques that testers do. And if you designers are one of your stakeholders as well, so get introduced to them, make friends with them. It's very interesting profession, and they actually do the same. They testing the customer in the same way we test the software. Actually, this is what it's their job. So there's certain techniques how to find out from the customers what they really want. If you don't have many designers on the team, That's a good way to kind of introduce yourself to taking a little bit of this role. Not really a role of graphic designer if you don't have the skills, but role of UX designer, meaning that usability and customer needs. And that's one of the ways. There is definitely more ways. Another thing that when people are changing their priorities is because they never had the final product. They don't really know. They need to try to make judgment, right? There is one thing, you cannot judge book by its cover. You need to open it and read it. In the same way, your customers, they need to experience the software and then they may change their priorities. So I would say it's okay. It's something that you need to accept. It's going to happen. But also, if you build in a relationship with these people, you may explain to them in their own terms what the unstable build means, right? Because if you keep on changing the software and you keep on changing the software, that means that you cannot really do a good job of testing or delivery. And that's a negotiation point between you and the customer or whoever stands between you guys. But you can explain the risks in the same way that they explain the risks to you. For example, they say, hey, I don't like this feature, I want to change. And you say, oh, yes, but in order to change this feature, we're going to like record everything underneath this software. It may be unstable. We don't have enough time to test. And it's okay, but it has to be an honest conversation. And this conversation have to happen. And they are happening all over the world. Don't think like they're happening all the teams. But if you have a better relationship with your stakeholders, then your job becomes easier.
Definitely.
Any other questions?
How would you recommend strengthening relationship with stakeholders if you are in a distributed team setup, different time zones, locations?
Great question. Well, number one, look at where we are right now, right? All of us are online, all of us. The whole world is online. The whole world is distributed now. And there is more techniques to really build relationship with people across the globe. Look at remote facilitation techniques. This is something that one of my tutorials on test leadership summer, which is exactly about this topic, facilitating remote influencing, using the techniques to facilitate, connections, how to facilitate collaboration, conversations online. And I think that even if you don't have anything like that before, right now, Zoom is the way of work. Use it. Like this is the time really. Everybody's connecting through Zoom. So use that opportunity. Nobody's sitting in the meetings right now. Everybody's on Zoom.
Excellent. Let me take the last question for now, and you can continue having a discussion with people on the Slack channel dedicated to you. What would be your strategy to explain testing to product owners who don't fully understand testing and are not making their own efforts to understand testing?
Give them a mouse. Let them test with you. Really something that hard to explain. If developers will start to explain to salesperson how difficult is, how complex is the build, they would not understand. Assume the same thing. This person doesn't speak your language. One thing you can do before you explaining, because they will not understand, make them do it, okay? Make them do, because once they do it, then they have a better grasp of like what it is. They can like touch it. I suggest, and this is what I used in my team, because I was a manager of Agile team. I was a test lead, test manager, anybody who you can imagine I was in my profession. So in my career. And one of the strategies that I use was group testing. A group testing is a facilitated 1 hour activity that whole team participates in. It's really a testing of one software, one build, same build. It's not everybody's testing their own. It's one thing and everybody's doing it together. When you do this, ideally you should not give people test cases to run, but you should give them the ideas of what they actually looking for. And you can play with it. You can make it more interesting. Sometimes you call it bug bash. I use the word group test. This is what my company used. But it's a facilitated activity where everybody is involved in testing at the same time. Open communication channel, and you will see how people talk to each other, people who are developers, product owners, operations, invite them all your stakeholders, invite them. If they can participate, it's great. I asked my manager to make it mandatory for all the team, because that's how you learn what testing is. The only thing is, don't tell them they're testing. You can tell them they're testing, but try to make it nicer. Say we're exploring, use different words. People don't like word testing for some reason because they think they do a new job. But this this activity is it's not your job. It's a team building activity, and this is how you build collaboration with your team members. So that's one of my suggestions. And then once everybody's done it, have a retrospective, and then you can talk to a product owner about testing, and they would understand it better. So make them touch you.
Thank you so much, Anna. It was a very insightful talk, different topic, but very important one from a tester's point of view. Thank you so much for taking time for us early in the morning. And I will let you take further questions in the Slack channel that is there for your talk.
Okay.
I wish you a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Good luck to you. Amazing, amazing event. Thank you.